Well, good morning. It's been a long time since I've done a sermon, but really excited about what we're going to be talking about today. The topic that I'm going to be speaking about is a topic that I've been studying for a while now, and I don't really remember how I started down this road, but it's kind of like Alice in Wonderland. Once you kind of jump down that hole, it just keeps going and going and going, and eventually the Lord has to stop you and says enough. And I haven't really studied this in a while, because what I've learned is that this world is a lot more wicked than I thought it was. And it did a lot for me because I grew up in the church. I've been a Christian all my life. And so like I have never seen the other side, really. You know, like some people grow up in that side. I grew up in the Christian family and was raised right. And so I think it strengthened my personal faith because I actually saw how good I have it, how the Lord has protected me and placed his hand upon me and my family. So this topic is complex and is deep, it's multifaceted. And so what I've done is take a very surface level, the basics of what it is, because there's many ways I can go with this sermon. So I've pinned it down to our Christian fight, the battle that we are in right now for souls. So if you look at the big picture, what was the commission that Jesus gave us? It was to go out into the world, right? It was to go out and win souls for him. That's the battle, that's the prize, that's what we're fighting for. First is to protect ourselves, and then it's to go out and save souls. But this is a fight. That means there's two sides to this story, to this fight. There's our side, and then there's the other side. And I really didn't believe that some of the things that were said in the Bible were literal. I thought, like, there's a thing here about selling the soul. I actually thought that was kind of a figurative way of saying, like, whenever you violate your conscience, whenever you sin knowingly, you're selling your soul. And to an extent, that's kind of true. But I didn't know that was actually a literal event, that people actually do sell their souls for riches and fame. And so really what you're going to learn in this whole presentation is that this may be a new day and a new age and a new time, but it's an old fight. It's just something that's been going on since the very, very beginning. It's just been packaged a different way. And so I'm also going to show you how it fits into prophecy, because in the prophecies that we've been studying, it actually talks about this stuff. We just didn't realize it was in this context. And it's also, at the end, I'm going to talk about how do we actually protect ourselves and how do we go out and win souls. Because if you're out trying to save souls and you're having a hard time reaching people, there's a reason for that. The enemy is indoctrinating the people you're fighting for with their message every single day of their life. You can't turn on the television. You can't go out in public. You can't go anywhere in this world and not be feeling the influence of this indoctrination. That's why you're having trouble. So if you don't understand that as a Christian, you're going to struggle reaching people. But I believe that if we're going to be in this fight, if you just have a basic knowledge of what people believe and why they believe it, it gives you more tools to work with to how to reach a certain person, because everybody's problems are different. Everybody's receiving it a different way. So we're going to start with this. We are warned in the Bible about this fight. So I hope you brought your Bibles, because we're going to be doing a lot of verses here. I'm going to have you read the long verses with me, but the shorter verses, I'm going to read them just quickly, but you can take note of them if you want. And if you need notes, I have a sheet with all the verses I have here. So first, please turn with me to Revelation 12. We're going to read two sections here, 7 through 9, and then we're going to read 12, the 12th verse. So Revelation 12, 7 through 9. All right, is everybody ready? Revelation 12, 7 through 9. And I'm reading the King James Version. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. and prevailed not, neither was there place any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast down, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out in the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And then if you go down to verse 12, it says, Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And I'm going to just read, once again, 1 Peter 5:8. We've heard it twice today. Your children's story was like right on point with everything I was talking about. It's just, this is going to be more of the adult version. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking who he may desire. So the Bible, throughout the Bible, he's warning you about this conflict that we are engaged in. And it's up to us to take heed to this. This is not just pep talk. This is an actual literal threat. The devil and his fallen angels are after you. He's after your children, and he's after those out in the world. So what does he say? What does he say about the fight? So if we go to Ephesians, chapter 6, 10 through 18. I'm going to let you go to that because that's a little lengthy. But we're talking about the armor of God. He actually talks about this. All right, are everybody ready? It says, Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against the flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about you with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all power and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all the perseverance and supplication of all the saints. So he's given a description that we need to arm ourselves with the armor of God. And why does he give us this? Because when he commissioned us to go out to the world, he knew what we were going to be facing. We need to be ready and prepared. This isn't something you just go out and do just on a spur of a moment. You need to be prepared, because you are going to encounter many of the things that I'm going to talk about in the sermon. And believe me, I'm not talking about everything I know I've studied in this, just basically the tip of the iceberg. That's how complex that this is. I tried to create a chart here to kind of give you an overview of how this all works, especially with prophecy. And we're going to start in the middle. In the world, there are unbelievers, which are basically atheists. They don't believe in any God. They don't believe in God, the creator, anything. And then you have believers who either believe in God or believe in another idol or God or whatever. Or they may, they want to believe in something. All right. We're going to talk about Satan's battle plan, his plan of attack. He has a different way of attacking different people. He knows he can't use the same thing for unbelievers that he uses against believers. But the main goal is the same goal he's been trying to do since the very beginning of time. He's trying to unite the world under his banner. So like when you read in prophecy about Babylon and Greece and Medo-Persia and Rome, what were they trying to do? They were trying to conquer the world, right? But they never could do it. We are in the last days, and they're still trying to do this, and they're trying to do it under this one banner called the New World Order. They also have named it the New Age movement, and it's all the same thing. It's just there's different facets of it. That's what his ultimate plan is. And you'll see how that fits in prophecy, because we're warned about this. So on the left side, I have pagan attack, and on the right, I have Christian attack. That's because I'm not going into the Christian attack today, because we don't have time. Just tell you. We're going to go into the pagan attack, because we are in a time of the king of the south. If you remember Daniel, talked about the king of the south doing a deadly wound to the king of the north, but he wasn't destroyed. But that wound is going to be healed, and that's when the persecution is going to start. Well, the king of the south represented atheism. It was when France revolted and the Pope was stripped of all his power, most of all his power. And atheism, which represented that they defied God, that was when the king of the south took control. And so what you're going to find is that atheism is the lead theology that's in attack right now that they're using. But there's another theology that atheism uses, because it's just an extension of it, that is being implanted into the minds of everyone to get to as a foundation. But the Christian attack, I'm going to briefly just talk about it as I go through it and at the end. But that is how the Catholicism is going to once again have that power that it once had. So why is it so hard to reach people? Have you ever thought about that? Why is it so hard? There's around 8 billion people in the world, somewhere around that number. I don't know exactly. Just Catholicism alone, there's over 1 billion Catholics. Christianity is the biggest religion in the world. Yet it's hard to reach people. You would think that message, as it's gotten out, people will be flocking to it, right? But that's not the case. For one thing is, there are so many theologies out there. Have you ever heard people talk about they went on this spiritual journey where they're trying to find their place in the world and what they should be about and what their life should be about? There are so many spiritual theologies out there that they're exploring. That's what's happening. And the reason why they're doing that is because Christianity has a bad rap. Why does it have a bad rap? Because from the Middle Ages, when Catholicism was persecuting so many millions, that set the stage that pagans can literally say, do you really want to be a part of that? They don't even follow their own doctrine. That whole thing has a bad rap, basically. And basically, the world is on a demonic spell. They are trying to hypnotize the world, hypnotize Christians, hypnotize non-Christians, and they're doing it. And I'm going to explain to you how they're doing it. But this is why it's getting harder and harder to reach people, because they are being indoctrinated with so many theologies. So the world has gone pagan. And we're warned about this. Jesus warns us about these days. He said that love would wax cold. Have you noticed that? Families, even families today, are not anywhere close to where they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Families are falling apart because love is waxing cold. It's been under attack, and there's a reason for that. That's not by accident. He talks about the days of Noah, that these days will be like those days. And then also, he says somewhere that it would be like the days of Sodom and Gomorrah, these last days. So we are right now in a time that's just like how he described. So the question is, how did we get here? So let's go ahead and turn to Matthew 24. There's 2 sections of Matthew 24 we're going to read. There's 37 through 39, and then we're going to read 11 through 13. All right, I'm going to go ahead and start reading. Matthew 24, 37 through 39. It says, "But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that we were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be." And then right before that, in 11 through 13, he says, "And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." All right, go ahead and turn to Daniel 2, 41 through 44. And what we're going to find out this new world order I was talking about, we're going to actually see the roots of this happening in these verses, where it's not going to say the words new world order, but you're going to see the roots, the beginnings of this. Daniel 2, 41 through 44. Okay. Let me read. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay, part of iron, and the kingdom shall be divided, there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And let me interrupt. This is the statue. If you remember the prophecy in Daniel, the head of gold, which is Babylon, and Greece, and then Medo Persia, then Rome, then papal Rome, and then it's the rock that was carved out without hands. That's going to, that's the image. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to the other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So the key verse in here I want you to pay attention to was 43. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves together with the seed of men, for they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. If you remember in prophecy, what this is referring to is the royal families of Europe and of these countries try to intermingle together, try to marry their daughters to their sons and back and forth. To this day, even all these royal families are all related, all of them. And the reason why they were doing this was to try to unite together, to come together. But the Bible said it wouldn't work. Well, we don't live in a day of kings and queens. We still have few, but we don't live in those times. But what they're doing today is they're still trying to achieve the same goals. That's where this new world order is coming to. And we're going to talk about exactly what that is. And you're going to see Bible prophecy unfolding before your eyes when you read what this really is. They're trying to reunite Europe, but they're trying to unite the world. And we're going to go into that now. But first, if Jesus said it was going to be in the days of Noah, and then he said it was going to be in the days at Sodom and Gomorrah, then it probably would be fit us to get an understanding of what those days were like. And so what I've done is Ellen G. White gave a description of these days. And this is the days of Noah, and this is found in Patriarchs and Prophets, page 90, chapter 7. And we're going to go ahead and read that. This is the way it was in those days. God bestowed upon these antediluvians many and rich gifts, but they used his bounties to glorify themselves. That's important, to glorify themselves, and turned them into a curse by fixing their affections upon the gifts instead of the giver. They employed the gold and silver, precious stones and the choice wood in the construction of habitations for themselves, and endeavored to excel one another in beautifying their dwellings with the most skillful works. They sought only to gratify the desires of their own proud hearts, and reveled in scenes of pleasure and wickedness, not desiring to retain God in their knowledge. They soon came to deny his existence. That's a key. They soon came to deny his existence. When you deny his existence, what is that called? Atheism. That's what was happening in those days. They soon said, we don't even believe in God. We believe in ourselves. They adored nature in place of God of nature. What is that? That is the beginnings of witchcraft. That is Druidism and Wicca and all that. They started to say that Mother Earth had the power, and they worshipped Earth. They glorified human genius. What is that? Science. Human genius is science. That's where this is the roots. This is where this all started coming about. Worshipped the works of their own hands and taught their children to bow down to graven images, which we do now even to this day. So that was the days of Noah. Let's go into the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is what she says about that. This is found in Eternity Past, page 98. Idleness and riches. Stop right there. That's key. This is the platform in which Satan is using to launch this last attack in these last days. Idleness and riches make the heart hard that has never been oppressed by want or burden of sorrow. Key. The people gave themselves up to sensual indulgence. This was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore I took them away as I saw good. This is in Ezekiel 16, 49 and 50. Then she says, Satan is never more successful than when he comes to men in their idle hours. This is key because this is what we're going to talk about. In Sodom, there was mirth, revelry, feasting, and drunkenness. The vilest passions were unrestrained. People openly defied God and his law and delighted in violence. They sought, though they had before them the example of the antediluvian world and knew of their destruction, they followed the same course of wickedness. At the time of Lot's removal of Sodom, corruption had not become universal, key word, and God in mercy permitted rays of light to shine in amid the moral darkness. The reason why, all right, if you stop and think about Sodom and Gomorrah, when Lot came to Sodom and Gomorrah, do you think that's when they started doing all this wickedness? It wasn't, was it? It had been happening before. So why did Jesus come down and send the angel of destruction to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah after Lot was there? It was because it had become universal, because that's the plan that Satan is using. He's trying to do things in a universal way. He's trying to get the whole world under his control, not just parts. He wants all of it. But whenever it gets to being universal, that's when God steps in. You see it over and over in the Bible. So that's key. So, understanding the enemy. This is things that we need to get straight as Christians, because we have a bad habit when it goes on topics that's scary and dark. We put our heads in the sand. We don't want anything to do with that. But we should have at least a basic understanding of what we're dealing with, because you're going to encounter it anyway. When you go out, you're encountering this stuff. You just don't know what it is. So you need to understand the enemy, and there are human beings that are the opposite of you, that they understand Christianity and Christians. They know the Bible. They just are opposed to it. So we may not know who they are and what they're doing, but they know who you are and what you're doing. So we need to understand that. Sometimes you are witnessing to the enemy, and they're smiling underneath, laughing at you, because they know what you're trying to tell them. They're just not for it. You understand what I'm saying? They hate you because they are demonically inspired to do so. Just when Christ was Pilate was asking, who would you rather save, Jesus or Barnabas? And they chose Barnabas. And when he was at trial, and they were throwing stones and doing all this stuff to Jesus, they were demonically possessed to do that. Well, these people are the same way. They are demonic. They are infested with spirits, because that's what they deal with. They play to the desires of the heart. This is why they're so effective. When they try to indoctrinate a person that's searching for truth, they play to the desires of the heart. They say, whatever it is that you want, that's what we'll give you. That sounds a lot better than a Christian saying you should deny those things and take a higher stand, have a higher moral code. To an unbeliever, which one sounds more appealing? The ones that's playing towards the heart or against it? So this is why they're so effective when they try to do this. They do not ignore us the way we ignore them. And they pray and use magical spells to spellbound the world. For those of us that know what to look for, you see this everywhere. They are trying to hypnotize everyone. Even if they're trying to do it to the point where even if you don't make a decision to follow and join them, they want you so hypnotized that you just don't make a decision at all. That's what they're trying to do. And they're being very successful with it. So now let's go into the battle plans. They want to attack your moral code. They are literally trying to attack your moral codes. They want you to become as animals. They don't want you to not be able to discern what's right and what's wrong. They don't want your conscience interfering with what you do. They are attacking your moral codes. You're going to see it. Change American Christian values. This country was founded in Christianity. The Protestants were under persecution, and they founded this country, and their laws and the Constitution were founded in Christianity. They're trying to take it back. They have taken it back. I'm going to explain that. They're trying to change generational values by targeting the youth. They say when you get older, you get set in your ways, right? If you were raised Christian all your life, is it going to be easy or hard to change your Christian values? Harder. So who is it easier to change? Older folks or younger folks? Younger. So what they've done is, starting with the baby boomer generation, or the generation that was right before it, he dialed up the attack on the youth. Because the thing is, he's patient. He knew that by this time, the baby generation, the baby boomer generation, and that generation right before it would be the adults. You see evidence of that right now. You remember there was the Victorian age, and then there was the age of free love, and then there was the hippie movement. You know, that there was a transition in those values. That's when you'll notice the reason why he could do this was technology. When the technological revolution came about, that was the platform for which he could launch this attack. And when you stopped having to till the ground for your food, and food was no longer scarce, but it was in abundance, you had what? A lot of idle time. When you have a lot of idle time, you are more subject to his wiles and his deceptions. That was the plan. And he's using the next one, pop culture, music, entertainment, to change those values, because that's how you do that. He knew this. So you start, Elvis comes onto the scene, and the Beatles, and all these big musical groups. All of them are working for Satan. I know a lot of people don't realize that. And I can't go into the details, and I'm not going to. It's too deep. But that's how he started attacking the youth. It worked, just to put it that. He's trying to despiritualize the whole world. It's working. He doesn't want you to have he doesn't want you to be open and hearing the Holy Spirit. He doesn't want that. He's trying to dehumanize everyone and destroy basic love and compassion. You see evidence of that now. We are so dehumanized. We can watch the news and hear about 20 people that got killed over here and 10 people got killed over there, and it won't even affect you to the way it should, because you're dehumanized, because we are taking in all this wickedness and death. We are not God. We are not omnipresent, and we were not built to handle that. But through media and news, we are being dehumanized. And finally, once he has everybody under this umbrella, he is going to pledge full-out war against the children of God, because that's how he's going to try to eradicate God's people. This is all in the Bible. So, King of the South, when I just talked about France and atheism, atheism goes on the attack. It's warring against God. Remember, atheism, this prophetic atheism started in Egypt when Pharaoh defied God. That was representing atheism. France took up that banner when it had the French Revolution, and statues of, I forgot what the name of that statue was, of that lady Reason, the statue of Reason, which was supposed to be the new deity that was not God. Secret societies. I'm not going to name a secret society that's really ahead of this forefront, because I don't have time to explain. So if you have a question about that, you can come ask me later. But it's through secret societies that this movement is being pushed onto the world. And like I said, Satan's primary weapon is popular entertainment, because we have a lot of idle time. Popular culture is what the New Age movement is being filtered through. And Satanism goes mainstream. So now we're going to go into what Satanism is. There's a shift in American values from Christianity and Doma. Do anybody here not know what Doma is? Okay. Doma is the turning point from when I believe the United States turned from being a Christian country to a pagan country. And why? Because DOMA is a federal legislation. It's the legislation that goes over the whole country. A country's values is founded in its laws and constitution. This country's laws and constitution was founded in Christianity. DOMA, did I not put that? Okay, I'll just read it to you. DOMA is the Defense of Marriage Act that was revoked last year. If you remember that whole hiccup with the laws, like that law, most people probably don't even notice it. But it was enacted on September 21st, 1996, and it is a United States federal law that allows states to refuse to recognize same-sex marriage granted under the laws of other states. Now, individual states have allowed same-sex marriage, but it hadn't been until this point where it was universally accepted federally, so they get federal benefits. Like, this is the constitutional level, is what we're talking about. Not in individual states, but the superseding law of the land. Until Section 3 of the Act was ruled unconstitutional in 2013. And that's a key year. I'm going to explain that. DOMA, in conjunction with other statutes, had barred same-sex marriage couples from being recognized as spouses for purposes of federal laws, effectively barring them from receiving federal marriage benefits. DOMA's passage did not prevent individual states from recognizing same-sex marriage, but it imposed constraints on the benefits received by all legally married same-sex couples. Okay, what has this got to do with where everything's going on? Have you noticed the homosexual movement going on right now? Now, when this law was reversed, state after state after state after state is reversing all their laws on same-sex marriage. What is the significance of same-sex marriage? Homosexuality has always been labeled the flagship of rebellion against God, because God, specifically in the Bible, says it is an abomination. It is a pagan theology, homosexuality. Did you know that in media, the media, news anchors, TV hosts, they are not allowed to say the word homosexual. They are told they are to say gay, the gay. He's gay, she's gay. The reason is they're trying to impose this idea that homosexuality is not something you decide. It's not a choice. It's something that you are. It's like they're trying to make homosexuals a people, a race. That is why they're not being recognized as such. When this legislation came into effect, that was the changing of our foundational beliefs, because remember, this country is founded in Christianity. This is anti-Christian. So when that happened, our values changed. This is the lamb speaking as a dragon. This is the first syllable, if you get to understand that prophecy. So when DOMA happened, that was a shift away in our constitutional laws. Now it's spreading across the United States. Every state's adopting it. So the three major targets of this attack: children and teenagers, obviously for the reason I explained before, young adults, and finally adults. But I put them in this order because this is the order in which he's attacking you. All right. If you think your children are safe and you let them watch Nickelodeon, if you know what you're looking for, it is filled with occult images, filled to the T. Disney too, but Nickelodeon is really, really bad. Their introduction had like occult symbol after occult symbol after occult symbol, because they're trying to indoctrinate your children. So, but we're not going to go into that. That's the specifics that I'm not going to go into, but I just want to say that's what's happening here. So, talking about occult symbols, magicians are the high priest of Satan's movement. They are the top level, and there's reasons for that. But this isn't a new enemy. This enemy has been around since the beginning. And we're going to read Exodus 7:11. I'll read it because time and I have it already in place. Then Pharaoh also called the wise men and the sorcerers, now the magicians of Egypt. They also did in like manner with their enchantments. Remember, there was a battle with Moses and the magicians. There's the wise men of Babylon. You know, they've been around. When Saul went to consult, and occultism is like magicians, necromancers, and spiritualists, and all those type of people. So if you want to get an idea who these people are. And in 2 Chronicles 33, verse 6, and he caused his children to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. Also he observed times used enchantments and used witchcraft and dealt with familiar spirits and with wizards. He wrought much evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. And then in Acts 19:19, many of them also which used curious arts brought their books together and burned them all before men, and they counted the price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver. So all through the Bible, you're going to see evidence of these magicians waging war against heaven. It's the same thing today, just on another level. They believe. You say, so why magicians? Why occultists? They believe that through magic, they will become gods. Not as gods, they will become gods. That not gods of this world, but gods out in the universe. They believe this. This is what Satan's made them believe. They believe that they're going to receive power through this magic. Like I said, they're high priests and the generals of Satan. Hollywood execs, music industry execs, business execs, people at the top. The 1% is filled with this stuff. And there's reasons. Remember the royal families. Anybody who rises in power and money, they are targeted. They try to bring them in because that's how you control the world, because you control it from the top, not the bottom. And then, like I said, there are magical symbols all over the place if you know what you're looking for. So what is the New Age movement? This is where you're really going to see it. This first one is the pantheon of pagan religions all united under one umbrella. So basically what the New World Order is, any pagan religion, just pick one. Kabbalah, Hinduism, Buddha, just pick one. They don't care what it is, Scientology, just pick one. And it's these are the things: universal peace on global collective security. We went to war in 2001 after the towers went down. But we didn't go to war with a country. If you notice, we didn't go to war. We didn't pledge war against Iraq or pledge war against Afghanistan. What did we pledge war against? Terrorism. Why? Because that is a concept. That's never going to end. There's always going to be another terrorist. So, because really, we dominated Iraq in 2 weeks. We had accomplished what we wanted. If that would have been just a war on Iraq, we'd have been done. But we waged war on terrorism, and that was setting up the final events. And I'm going to show you how that fits. It is the unity of religion, one world religion. That pagan, the king of the South, paganism, is trying to unite you under this umbrella of paganism, paganistic theologies. But on the Christian side of that chart I made for you, the Catholicism is going to bring everybody under Catholicism once this is set up. Why? Because what is Catholicism? If you remember from Doug Basher's video, Catholicism is Christianity and paganism brought together. It's mixed. So what other religion can bring pagans and Christians underneath one umbrella? Catholicism, the king of the north. It is a setting up of a world government which could enact laws required to satisfy the needs of all people. That is what the United Nations is supposed to be, but it's not doing a very good job of it. But that's the idea, to have one world government that supersedes countries' governments. Because if you have a one world government, somebody's got to lead that. Who do you think is going to lead the one world government? Catholicism, the Pope. It has an elected world parliament, a binding world tribunal. That's like bringing people before you to make a judgment on whether or not you live. It's a court, basically, a one world court. A one world police force. You see this going on right now. They're trying to enact martial law, because if you enact, what is martial law? Martial law is when you suspend laws, you set someone in charge, and they can do things as they see and they please in the name of security of a country or a state or a city or whatever the case may be. That's martial law. That's happening right now. Is a universal bill of human rights, the universal right to education, the setting up of an auxiliary universal language, like one language used worldwide, continued diversity of culture, a world currency. That's happening right now. They want one currency, not the peso, not the euro, not the dollar. They want one currency. And that currency is a digital currency. You ever heard of Bitcoins? Anybody heard of Bitcoins? Yes. Bitcoins is a digital currency. Why is that important? Remember in Revelation when it talks about you will not be able to buy and sell. If your money is digital, they can cut you off easily. Investors say if you can't hold your money, you don't own it. That's what they're talking about. Gold and silver you can hold. Digital, you cannot. If you have a digital currency, they control your ability to buy and sell. A system of world commerce that the establishment of an equitable economic system where the economy security of the individual is assured. Basically, they want to be able to protect the world against terrorists. Well, if you're not complying with this world laws and stuff, they imply the Sunday laws, and you're not abiding by that. Well, what are you going to be labeled? A terrorist, because you're a security threat now. That's what this is about. Elimination of extremes of wealth and poverty, which is kind of a joke, since they are the 1% trying to impose this, all right? Satanism. What is Satanism? I've asked a few of you, what is that? A lot of people believe Satanism is the worship of Satan. That is not what Satanism is. Satanism is mockery of Christianity. It's actually the religion of atheism. I have a short video I was going to show you. I may not show it now because of time, but there was a high priest of Satanism. He explained what it was. It is not what people think it is. They don't actually believe in God. They believe you are God, that you are the God of your life, and that you can follow your own heart. And by following your own heart, you can determine what's right and what's wrong. That's what Satanism is all about. And they have appeals to Christians and to non-Christians. If you don't believe in God, then they'll say there is no God, and that you are God. And if you are God, you can do whatever your heart says is right. But if you do want to believe, I guess I didn't put it up there. But if you don't believe in something, they'll basically say, you do want to believe in something. They'll say, God is a bully. He's sadistic. He's going to make you burn in hell forever. And he's the one that causes all these accidents and these disasters. And why did he let someone you love die? And he's not somebody you want to serve. You should be God. You can control your life. You're a good person because your heart's good. That's Satanism. The worship of Satan is Luciferianism. Luciferianism came out of the Church of Satan. One of the followers was a Satanist, and he actually did believe in Satan. And I'm not going to go into the story, but he just basically came out of that church and started Luciferianism. That is the worship of Satan. I'm trying to hurry up, sorry. All right, and this was the non-believers that I stated just a minute ago. And so, where did this begin? In Genesis 3, 1 through 5, I'm going to go ahead and read it. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. The key part of that phrase was, Ye shall be as gods, knowing good from evil. This was the beginning of that Satanistic theology. He's saying, if you eat of this tree, you will be like God. You will be God, because you'll know good from evil. That's where this all began. This is an old theology. It's just packaged a different way. And let's see. So, what does the Bible, I'm not going to read these verses. What does the Bible say about the heart? What does it say?
It's desperately wicked.
Exactly. You can't trust your heart because it's wicked. It's evil. You can't trust it. You know the verses. I'm going to go past. I'm trying to speed this up a little bit. So, in Matthew 4, 1 through 9, the story is Jesus Christ goes into the wilderness. And the devil comes and tempts him 3 times. turn this stone into bread, jump down from this building. And then he finally says, if you'll bow down to me and worship me, I'll give you this world, I'll give you these kingdoms, I'll give you this wealth and these things. And God told him to leave him alone, because when we read that story, we get from that how to reject the devil. We don't get into a dialogue and a conversation with Satan. We quote Bible verses and tell him to leave. That's how you deal with him. But actually, this story was also a warning, because what Christ experienced is the same thing that Satan does to human beings. Selling your soul. That's what that was about. He was asking Jesus to sell his soul. He's doing that to human beings, and people are making contracts with demons and Satan to get wealth and power. I have a video that, do you want to watch it because of time? Do you? Right, it's 5 minutes. It's like 5 minutes long. Do you want to watch it? Because we can skip it. You do want to? Okay, so we're just going. So bear with me with time. I'm trying to, I said this whole subject is complex. They sold their souls. Men and women sell their souls for power, wealth, and fame, just like he offered Jesus Christ. Some reluctantly sell. Some eagerly sell because they don't value their souls at all. So you have to picture a person that's in poverty. They've been abused. They've been struggling all their life, but they're talented. They can sing. They can do, they're funny or whatever. And the devil comes to them, or a demon comes to them and says, listen, we'll give you all these things if you'll just sell your soul to us and do what we tell you to do, to enact this popular culture, to enact this Satanism and these theologies onto the world. If you agree to this, knowingly, we will give you this. And men and women do this. That's what's happening now. This is a real contract. Who are these people? Normally it's superstar or the top of the profession when it comes to musicians and actors and athletes and comedians, Hollywood execs and all these execs and business moguls. These are these when you see people at these levels, you don't get there from talent. There's only so far you can go with talent. Then you have to enter into contracts with Satan in order to get to the upper levels, because entertainment is his industry. If you understand what I'm saying, he controls this industry. Entertainment is his, because that's how he's enacting his will on the world. So let's go ahead and watch that quick video.
Have you heard about the largest church in the world? The first service was March 3rd, 2008, with an attendance of over 300,000. The attendance is now over 2 million, and they conducted the first ever mass trance on March 17, 2008. What do they teach? Who you are requires no belief. Heaven is not a location, but refers to the inner realm of consciousness. The man on the cross is an archetypal image. He is every man and every woman. The leader's website teaches these lessons. My mind is part of God's. I am very holy. My holiness is my salvation. My salvation comes from me. Let me remember that there is no sin. Do not make the pathetic error of, quote, clinging to the old rugged cross, unquote. The only message of the crucifixion is that you can overcome the cross. Have you heard of this church? Or maybe its leader? Years ago, she denied Jesus is the only way.
One of the mistakes that human beings make is believing that there is only one way to live, and that we don't accept that there are diverse ways of being in the world, that there are millions of ways to be a human being, and many ways, but many paths to what you call God. And her path might be something else, and when she gets there, she might call it the light. But her loving and her kindness and her generosity brings her, if it brings her to the same point that it brings you, it doesn't matter whether she called it God along the way or not.
And I guess the danger that could be in that, I mean, it sounds great on the onset, but if you really look at both sides,
there couldn't possibly be just one way. What about Jesus? What about Jesus?
And you say there isn't only one way. There is one way and only one way, and that is through Jesus.
There couldn't possibly be with the millions of people in the world.
Today she has turned her millions of adoring fans over to New Age doctrine. Christians are letting this into their homes and are being deceived.
Jesus says, you are the light of the world. means you are the consciousness in which the world appears, is seen.
So you believe what happens to us at death when the body dies? You don't have a belief?
I don't give it any thought.
You don't. God, in the essence of all consciousness, isn't something to believe. God is.
Yes.
God is. And God is a feeling experience, not a believing experience.
That's right.
And if your religion is a believing experience, if God for you is still about a belief, then it's not truly God.
No.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And this machine around us, this so-called music industry, is such a demonic thing. It sacrifices people's lives.
The whole idea of celebrity and fame has become really convoluted and, kind of bastardized, like whereas fame used to be the byproduct of success, and now it's the ultimate goal. And if your ultimate goal is to be famous, then you're gonna do a lot to get there, like sign your name in blood in a contract with the devil. Like you're gonna end up on a one-way street and it's going nowhere. Like that's just the truth. I've seen so many people like forsake their moral code and their value systems just for a little bit of fame, and it's not worth it at the end of the day. It's really
what was going on in my life at 15, and that's how I got introduced to the music industry. I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music. Yeah. But it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my end.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And on this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
Is it possible that these actors and actresses are possessed by demonic spirits who have a specific agenda to fulfill? Oscar award-winning actor Denzel Washington told 60 Minutes exactly how he brings forth his best performances.
Basically what I did was got on my knees and sort of communicated with the spirits. And when I came out, I was in charge.
Powerful scene.
Powerful scene. I couldn't have acted that. I couldn't have written that down and made a decision to play that.
The one-woman entertainment empire known as Oprah has strong affiliations with the demonic realm. The most familiar face on television says,
"You can not only use your body and physical self. This is how I see acting. I ask my body to be the carrier for the spirits of those who have come before me in a way that is most meaningful to the character. Just become the vehicle for that character."
Calling out for these entities to take her over so that she may become a sparkling puppet, Oprah admits of her work before the camera.
"I tried to empty myself and let the spirit inhabit me."
With her global influence, her shows have become a smorgasbord for the New Age agenda.
I mean, this is real. When they're saying they sold their soul to the devil, they're not talking in metaphors. They're talking about a literal event, something that they experienced. But basically, this is what's happening today. They're trying to use Satanism to set you up for the other stuff. Because in Satanism, if you deny God and you don't value your soul, then you're open game. You're open for anything they try to put on you. So that's what, you ever heard of YOLO? Young kids yelling YOLO, they go out partying club and they'll say YOLO. YOLO means you only live once. So they'll use that as an excuse to go live it up and have a good time. And to a Christian, what they're saying is, you're not going to be saved. You're going to die. You're going to burn in hell. So this is the only life you have, and you better live it up today. That's Satanism. That's what that means. That's the kind of stuff that's being indoctrinated on your children. So, off of the... Okay. All right. So, all right. We're not going to focus on that part. Just having a basic understanding of what's going on will equip you in a way to do witness, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Let's get back to what Christ said. Have we lost the fight? Because this is a type of deal like when you dig into this, it's easy to get depressed and just discouraged. But should we be discouraged? No. You have to remember that God is in control. All this is happening to his will. This stuff has to happen for the end to come. He foretold all this would happen. And so in 1 Kings, if I can find it, he says, and he said, I have been very jealous. This is when Elijah, remember when Elijah was fighting for the Lord and he was trying to change the country, but they started hunting for his life again and he got really discouraged. This is going to help. This is a message for us as well, because it's when you get discouraged. And he said, I have been very jealous for the Lord God of hosts, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars, and slain the prophets with the sword. And I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away. And the Lord said unto him, Go, return on the way to the wilderness of Damascus, and when thou comest, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. Excuse my pronunciation of these names. And Jehu the son of Nimshi shall thou appoint to be king over Israel. And Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abelamel, I don't know how to say his name, shalt thou anoint to be prophet in thy room. And it shall come to pass that him that escaped the sword of Hazael shall Jehu slay, and him that escaped the sword of Jehu shall Elisha slay. And here's the key phrase. Yet I have left me 7,000 in Israel, all the knees which have not bowed unto Baal, and every mouth which hath not kissed him. What is Jesus saying here? He's saying, even though you may feel alone, even though you may feel like this battle is bigger than you, even though you may be overwhelmed, I have people all over the world that you don't even know. You don't know how many people are being faithful unto me. That's what he was telling Elisha. So I'm not going to read the other two. It's time to fight the good fight. How do we fight the good fight? Let's listen to Paul. This is how we witness. Let's take him as an example of how he did it. Because remember, Paul went all over the world. He went to Greece. He went to all these countries that were pagan still at that time. And he found a way to witness to these people. Because what he was experiencing is what we experience here in America. It's the same thing, it's just here. It's not going to some other country. You're experiencing those paganistic ideals and values here. Let's look at what Paul says. For thou, this is 1 Corinthians, maybe I got it wrong. 1 Corinthians 9, 19, 2, 3, and 3, sorry. For thou, I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jew. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without law. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might be by means save some. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. So what did Paul do? He didn't just have a generic message that he just went to a person and just started giving. What would he do? He would go to those people and he would identify with those people. He would find out what are their problems, what do they believe, what's going on in their life. And then he would identify with them. Like, to put this in modern terms, if you're having a problem with, let's say you lost somebody, and you're struggling, trying to wonder, why did God take someone that I love? Well, what he would do is he would go to that person and he would be like, I lost whoever he's lost in his life. And I went through these same things. And this is what God showed me and helped me. And when you do that, that person starts to bond with you because they see you're just like me. You're not perfect. You're struggling with sins just like I am. And that's how you reach people. In today's times, you have to understand that they're being exposed to all the stuff that I present today. So if you understand that, you need to have in your mind that you need to find out what it is they're particularly struggling from, because he's attacking you from different angles. And it's something that may not be affected on one side will be affected on the other. So that's taking Paul's example. And in these other two verses, they're talking about being careful with your words, because words mean different things to different people in different cultures. Be careful. Your words need to be seasoned with salt. And that's what these other verses. So that's why having an understanding of what's going on can help you witness and save souls. And basically, Sharon shared this with me last week. It's on the Amazing Facts homepage. There's a link called Prophecy Alert Across the Gulf, where Doug Batchelor's talking about what the Pope just did, trying to unite Catholicism and Protestant church, I think the Lutherans. But it's a 45-minute video. If you want to go watch it, he talks about the New Age movement, what I've talked about today. He says the actual words. This is that Christian part. This is what's happening in prophecy with him trying to get everybody under that one world religion that I was talking about. So as we leave here, we just need to be ready to fight the good fight. And I'm sorry for the time. Lord, we live in these last days as you foretold. We ask that you send your Holy Spirit to help us to be worthy sons and daughters of you. Help us to save souls as you commissioned us to do. Prepare us and give us the tools to do so. But we know that in the end, it is the Holy Spirit that is going to convict souls. So help us to do our part in that glorious battle so that the last days can come and we can go home. And we ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.